Match number 2, we are on the draw. I chose to keep this hand because we have a turn 2 Wall of Omens, which can draw us a card. Then our draw steps, we get 1, 2, 3, 3 draw steps plus the wall, so that's 4 cards we have access to. Just trying to hit our 3rd land for Liliana, and then a 5th card in order to cast our Damnation or our Sorin. Damnation is a card that can really catch us up if we're far behind. And in most matchups, I think we want it, like Damnation is good. I'd say most matchups that we face in Modern are going to be decks that are putting a bunch of creatures on the battlefield. And so that'll help catch us up if we're behind. And even just wall blocking into Liliana minus or plus. I don't think that we can mulligan this hand. So we kept. Opponent's on some green-black deck. Bird. Okay, so this is some sort of go wide deck. It's either like a Jund or okay, it's Abzan or Abzan Company. They passed, so I'm thinking it's Collected Company. There's really no way that they don't cast a 4-mana spell on turn 3 unless they have Company. So what are we going to do about Company? Well, we could get Liliana going, or we can cast Lingering Souls. I chose to go ahead and do Liliana and minus, because I'm thinking, well, I'm probably just going to kill Bird here, but I kind of want to set up for the Damnation, and casting Lingering Souls into Damnation is not super effective. So we could just, take a page out of Sam Black's advice from his article last week. If you hadn't read it, it's a good one, where you just do nothing. Sometimes the correct play is just pass. But I felt like Liliana minus was the better play because in a lot of situations, they're not going to sacrifice their bird. So let's say they don't have another land in hand, but they have another company. Well, they might sacrifice something other than the bird, which means when they company into 2 cards, they they can't maybe take 2 creatures that they want without risking losing the bird. And also, I'm just kind of thinking, well, I just want to be able to do something. Like, there's no guarantee that this Damnation is going to work anyway. So they just got mana creatures. And then they chord for 2. They get a bunch of mana. They're kind of going off. This is their combo. So they can just get infinite mana. They Eternal Witness for the chord. And at this point, I would concede. But I asked the opponent to go through the motions so that I could explain it to you. So basically, the way this combo works, we have Vizier of Remedies. So if one or more -1/-1 counters will be put on a creature you control, that many -1/-1 counters -1 are put on it instead. And now the other part of the combo, Devoted Druid. Taps for green mana, or you could put a -1/-1 counter on the Druid to untap it. And so a single -1/-1 counter -1 is 0. So you put 0 -1/-1 counters on it to untap it, which basically means you just untap it whenever you want. So you could just add infinite mana, which as you can see, that's what they're doing. And since they have Eternal Witness, they Eternal Witnessed back the Chord of Calling, which means now, as we will see, they continue producing mana. They're about to use this chord. They chord for Duskwatch Recruiter. So now, with essentially endless amount of green mana, you can activate Duskwatch Recruiter any number of times. So what they do now is they just dig until they hit, usually Walking Ballista is the card. This is where I'm asking them to go through the motions. And so they don't actually, some people would keep revealing, which I think they don't need to do. They could just fail to find, keep putting them on the bottom until you find the Walking Ballista, which they'll show us in a second. And then once you find the Walking Ballista, then you just produce, there it is, you produce a bunch more mana, and then once you get to, we're at 18, so they would have to get to 36 mana, and then remove all the counters from it to deal us 18. So that is how this game is coming to a close. So they got their combo, and we tried to disrupt them. We didn't survive long enough to cast our Damnation. They just killed us on turn 4 before we could untap and wrath their board on turn 4. So if we had a single removal spell, if we had like a Path or a Fatal Push, then we could have killed the Devoted Druid and disrupted their combo and untapped and Damnationed, and then they wouldn't have been able to do all this stuff. So then we would have at least had a game. But as it turns out, and now that they have all the mana, I didn't actually make them do the ballistas. I probably should have stopped earlier than this, but now you can see they're casting the ballista, and then they just remove all the counters. So that was this game. And the way we sideboard in this matchup is I sideboarded a couple different ways. I played against this deck 3 times over the course of a couple of leagues, and see there, I conceded at this point, but I sideboarded differently originally. This is the second time I'm playing against it, and I boarded out all 4 Inquisitions and all 4 Lilianas. And I brought in 2 Duress, 2 Rest in Peace, 1 Cage, 1 Elspeth, 1 Flaying Tendrils, and 1 Explosives. So the Cage is especially good because it shuts off basically all of their cards. It shuts off Chord, they can't cast Chord. It shuts off Collected Company, they can't do that. And then it also shuts off the other combo in their deck, which is the Viscera Seer. So they can use Kitchen Finks and Viscera Seer to basically scry through their whole deck and gain infinite life. And with a Cage in play, the Kitchen Finks cannot come back from the graveyard, so that negates that combo. So Cage basically shuts off a lot of cards, a lot of things in their deck. So Cage is really good. Rest in Peace shuts off the Kitchen Finks part. It also shuts off Eternal Witness. So it's not as good, but it still serves a function. And also if they have cards like Voice of Resurgence, it prevents that from working. Rest in Peace is kind of like, maybe only one is good. I don't know if I want both. I would certainly have a second Cage if that's in the sideboard, which it's not. But it's one of the cards I'm thinking about adding. Duress is good because it could take their Chord or the Company, which are kind of their key cards. Elspeth, I figured, was just another way to kind of win the game. It just seemed more effective than Liliana. Liliana didn't really seem to do anything. And Inquisition's really only good if you can hit a Chord. And then sometimes it's not even good because if you look at their hand and it's something like Eternal Witness Chord, and you're just like, well, I have to take the Witness because if I take the Chord, they're just going to cast the Witness and get the Chord back. So Inquisition, I just felt like was not a strong enough card. And matchup, I believe, after a Wrath of God or Damnation, it's going to get to a point quite frequently where we're just top decking off the top of our decks, and we're just casting whatever we're drawing anyway. So there's really, like, the discard spells are kind of not where you want to be in this matchup. So that's how we sideboarded. Let's go to game 2. So we're down a game on the draw, on the play. Now this hand, not super good, but we do have a good start. We can Thoughtseize them, maybe take their first turn Noble Hierarch, just kind of get them. That's something that could work. Or, just take their Collected Company. We could also just not cast the Thoughtseize on turn 1 and cast it on like turn 3, before they have the turn before they have the mana to cast the Company, which is the other option. As you can see, I chose to wait. I do have the bird. So just get my land, untap, Let's go ahead and cast the Signet. Now here, I think I might have screwed up. I think I'm supposed to play the Rest in Peace, because next turn I can play the Signet and the Thoughtseize, and there's really, like, even if I draw like a Gideon or something, I'm still going to cast the Thoughtseize next turn because I want to take the company before they can company. So I think I was supposed to lead with Rest in Peace. There's really no card. Maybe if I draw, yeah, I guess if I draw Lingering Souls, I would cast Lingering Souls. So I guess that's the reason I didn't cast the Rest in Peace. But I think we get punished here. Yeah, we get punished because now they cast Viscera Seer and Voice, which means now um, when we cast Rest in Peace, they could sack the Voice in response and get an Elemental. So I don't know if we made the wrong play, but we definitely got punished for the line we took. So we cast the Thoughtcease, and we see that they have Devoted Druid, Bird of Paradise, and Chord. At this point, they can chord into the they can either chord into the Vizier or they can Devoted Druid, and I felt like the chord gives them more options. They can kind of get whatever they want, whereas the Devoted Druid is just a Devoted Druid. So it's kind of like the same card except with less options. So I felt like that was an easy Thoughtseize target there. But we're still not in great shape. We don't really have anything going on. We just drew more lands. So we cast the Rest in Peace. They do make the play that we expected. And the Scry is pretty relevant here too, because we don't have anything going on. And they're just trying to find action, find Devoted Druid, Bird, attack, and, well, we draw a Fatal Push. So we Fatal Push, and they scry in response, but we kill their elemental token. I would have loved to kill the Devoted Druid, because that is the more important of the two threats at this point. Let me phrase that. It's not the most important, but it's the one that they can do the most things with, especially if they're scrying and like trying to find cards. Like, this is their combo piece, and but we had to deal with the elemental because right now they're just on a plan of kill you with this 5/5 elemental, and we're at 11, so that is legitimately going to kill us in 2 or 3 turns, even though we have a vent. And so if I just go ahead and kill that, now at least we're at parity in the sense that we're both just drawing off the top of our decks. Like, they have 4 mana, we have or they have 5 mana, we have 5 mana, potentially 6 on each side. Like, we both have basically the same amount of resources on the board. Like, they get to attack for 1, we get to attack for 2 and gain 2, and like life totals are 11, 15. So we're basically exactly even, at this point, if I just kill your elemental. Otherwise, I'm pretty far behind. So that's why I chose to kill the elemental. I felt like it was just the harder target. Now, this voice is not nearly as hard for us because the Rest in Peace means when this voice dies, it's just dead. No elemental for you. But it does mean we can't cast spells on the opponent's turn. We draw another vent. So here, I'm willing to make this trade. If they want to, actually, it's not a trade because they attacked with their Seer. I was thinking that they were going to leave the Seer back and double block, potentially. And at that point, we would kill off the Viscera Seer and let them have a 2/2 because we have another vent which could hold back or just trade damage with the voice. They didn't because I guess they deemed the Viscera Seer as the more valuable resource. They're probably correct. But then we're just basically, okay, well, let's attack. Let's deal some damage, gain some life, force you to attack, and we're at the point where we're almost able to activate multiple vents. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have the other 2 lands in hand. So in 2 turns, we're going to be able to activate and attack with 2 vents each turn. So we're still kind of at parity. We have to draw something, though, because they're eventually going to draw something good. Now here they drew their Viscera Seer, so they have active Devoted Druid Viscera Seer. So they could literally just produce infinite mana. They have infinite green mana if they want it, but they have 0 cards in hand. So there's nothing at this point they can do with it. We might see them sack the voice to scry with Viscera Seer here, assuming we didn't do anything this turn, just because they're really trying to complete the combo. And they're not really ahead in this race because we're gaining 2 life when we attack. So, you know, in contrast to the situation where they had the elemental token attacking us for 5, this situation doesn't really favor them. So I think their better plan is to just use the resources to dig, so they could dig to find like a way to utilize this infinite mana they have available to them, rather than just trying to get chip shots in with a 2/2. So I'm pretty sure they would have just scried with the voice on our end step. As it turns out, we drew Wrath of God, which was a good card to draw there. So it means they get to get 4 scry activations off the Seer, because they just sack all the creatures to the Seer in response. But that's okay. So now they have 3 lands and like a good card on top of their deck. But that's fine. And we get to attack with 2 vents next turn. So the best they could do is, I think they scried them all to the bottom. So that was okay. Means we have a faster clock now. We get to activate vent, activate vent. Oh, actually, no. We just went on that plan. Yeah, I thought about casting Lingering Souls. Didn't really increase our clock though. So I just kept attacking with vent. Play Thoughtseize. Did you draw a company? No, it's a chord for 1. Okay. So just get another bird. Now at this point, we cast Lingering Souls and attack with Vent. So then they're basically dead next turn. They draw some trump blockers, but that's not going to be good enough because we drew Sorin. If we didn't draw Sorin, they just have to chump block and kind of Maverick a way out. But at this point, I think we're pretty far ahead anyway. And then they just die. So they could have, at this point, basically drawn Collected Company. And if they company into a Vizier and like a Duskwatch Recruiter, they could produce infinite mana and get their Walking Ballista and kill us. So they still had an out this turn, even though we wrathed them and we put them on this clock and we're pretty far ahead. Even from a board of just 3 lands and a Devoted Druid and 1 draw step, they could kill us. I mean, the chances are very slim, but the fact that they're still alive, like that's why I think I'm seeing so much of this deck right now. It's on the rise. It's one of the most played decks in Modern right now. So that's game 2, got there. Game 3. On the draw, we do have a removal spell, which is good at picking apart our combo. So you usually have 2 to 3 creature combos, and Path to Exile can get rid of it at instant speed to disrupt them. Then the Damnation can clean things up, and unlike the game 1 where we were on the draw and they killed us on turn 4 before we could cast our Wrath in hand, this game we have a turn 2 Signet to cast a turn 3 Wrath. So they're not going to be able to kill us before we get access to our Wrath. So we're going to keep it. Start with the bird. Okay, that plays into our Damnation plan. I like having a Thoughtseize against them to take their company, but don't have that this game. Kitchen Finks. Okay, it's a good answer to Damnation. Decided not to path it. I don't feel like I need to yet. Now here, interestingly enough, they could potentially just basically gain infinite life here. By untapping with the Finks, if they just had like Viscera Seer and Vizier, they could gain infinite life. Or if they had like the Vizier and a Court of Calling, or the Court of Calling and the Viscera Seer. So that one of the appeals of this deck is that it has so many interchangeable pieces, and then it has the Court and the Collected Company to act as the kind of tutor effects, which it really makes the deck pretty consistent, even though it has like multiple infinite combos in it, which is pretty neat. But our Wrath effects are pretty strong in this matchup. And this turn, I think our play is pretty clear. Just cast one of them. Finks comes back. They play Ooze. They play Devoted Druid. Just trying to reestablish a board. We wrath them with Path Open. This is where they make that statement that if you read my article, it's the last one in the thing. Of all the players, I wouldn't expect you to be the one double wrathing people. So that was what their message to me. Craig Wesco casting multiple Wrath of Gods. Not what they expected when they signed up for this, but that's what happened. Shambling Vent. At this point, we're just trying to end the game. We have removal spells in hand, so we can wait it out a little bit. Here they're cording for 3. Get back the cord, which is a nice play. Attack us. Yep. Right, let's get some Sorin action going. And of course, the reason that we didn't activate Vent and attack here is because, well, there's a reasonable chance we're just going to die if we leave our defenses low. And there's no reason for us to die with 2 Path to Exiles in hand against a creature combo deck like this that can be disrupted by Path to Exile. So, we're not in any sort of dire hurry to make things happen. We have an active Planeswalker now. We have Shambling Vents. We have, Vampire Token. We have basically 3 removal spells in hand that, 2 of which can disrupt their combo at instant speed. The other one that can 2-for-1 them and clean things up. So we're actually in a pretty good board position right now. There's no sense trying to, take any unnecessary risks. And my thinking right now is I'm probably wanting to Ghost Quarter. And the question is, do I want to kill this Gavany Township or this Horizon Canopy? They're down to 2 cards in hand, and we know one of them's Cord. So I'm kind of thinking I want to shut down their cards. So I want to kill the Canopy. Then the only question is, well, can this Township take over the game? Well, it can, given that we're not really, killing them at hyper speed pace. And it could also help them potentially get around Flaying Tendrils. So both these things are pretty powerful cards in this spot. But I want to see what they cord for first. Ronus. So I Path to Exile them, and then I decide to Ghost Quarter the Township. So I figured at this point, I don't want to just die to some, go wide strategy that just, I don't know. I'll just let them have a card. Sin Collector, that was a good one. Take our tendrils, play a pair of birds. So they're kind of sandbagging the birds, interestingly enough, to get around our Wrath. But then once they took our Wrath effect, then they went ahead and cast them. We drew another good one, though. We drew Elspeth. We get to Elspeth with Path Open. Not like we needed Path Open there. They could draw Company, I guess. But now at this point, we're in a pretty good position. We have Sorin and Elspeth active, and we have the Path in hand. We drew a Wrath. So we're still playing a little conservatively here because we've had some good draw steps. I don't want to just leave myself vulnerable. It's like Cord, Duskwatch. It's a pretty good one. To activate Duskwatch, I think about pathing here, but I choose not to. So they found a Ballista. Choose not to cast it. There's cast Duskwatch, activate Duskwatch. So we're just like, okay, make more tokens. Or I'm sorry, we activate Sorin here, get an attack in. They activate Duskwatch again. At this point, I'm thinking my plan is to just Wrath and make more tokens with Elspeth. So they were kind of getting a board that was getting a little out of control with the Duskwatch recruiters. And when they activated the Duskwatch and found the Druid, their hand is Ballista Druid. And I'm looking at my board and I'm thinking, how can things go wrong? The way that I think that they could go wrong is if they just like draw Chord or something, and Chord, they activate Duskwatch and find like a combo piece. And I'm thinking, like, they're down to 1. I just need to kill them next turn, or I can just try to kill them next turn. So if I just Wrath of God, even though like I guess our boards are kind of even. I might have even been a little bit ahead on board, but I'm just gonna Wrath the board because I have perfect information. I know what they have in their hand. Then I'm just gonna make 3 1/1s, and like, what are they gonna do? And I have Sorin at 6, and so I basically have 4 lethal attackers, and they have 6 mana, a Devoted Druid, and a Ballista in hand. So they could make a 3/3 Ballista. They could like block vent and then shoot all my tokens to stay alive. But I can even play around that with the Path to Exile. Because if they just Ballista for 3, I go Path it, and what like you kill my 3 tokens in response. Then I just untap, activate that, and kill you. So I was thinking like I don't know that I needed that Wrath, but it was definitely correct to Wrath in that spot, given that it set up lethal the following turn. So yeah, that was like I said, I played against this matchup 3 times so far this week, and I beat it all 3 times. The matchup is certainly not, a cakewalk, but this is kind of the way things go, where the board sweepers are very good, and we bring in a 5th one in Flaying Tendrils. So we basically have 5 board sweepers against them, which are all very effective, and so we can reliably draw 1 or 2 of them in over the course of the game. So not only can we wipe their board, but then we wipe their reload with a second Wrath, and then we're in Planeswalker territory. As you can see, they can take over the game in that stage. Then we also have the paths and the pushes, and like some Thoughtseizes to potentially take out their Chords and their companies. So this matchup is certainly in our favor, and it's one of the reasons to be playing this deck in this metagame, given the prevalence of this Abzan company deck. But it's even still, it's still a formidable opponent. I still wouldn't say this matchup is more than maybe like 65% in our favor. But yeah, this is about how things tend to go in this matchup.